some of the best decisions we made at Magic Eden were really long term, and some of the worst decisions we made were short term. It's like chasing shiny object syndrome. Like, should we be surprised that we don't have 100 million users on chain when most of the time it's basically another clone of the same dApp, but just on a different chain, right? We shouldn't be surprised that the space is not bigger. In order to onboard more people into the space, you have to put a lot of work and craftsmanship over the long term to build something good.
This episode is brought to you by Chaos Labs, one of the leading on-chain risk management firms. You'll be hearing more from them later in the show. This episode is brought to you by Ledger, the most secure hardware wallet trusted by 7 million users and securing 20% of the world's digital assets. We'll be hearing more from them later in the show. If you like the Lightspeed podcast, then you need to subscribe to the Lightspeed newsletter, written by a team including yours truly and delivered to your email inbox daily. Lightspeed is your essential daily briefing on all things Solana. Exclusive news, deep analysis, and the latest trends delivered in a way that's digestible and, I think, sometimes kind of funny. Stay ahead of the curve with the same insights that guide readers from Brevin Howard, Gemini, Jito, CME Group, Solana Labs, and Foundation, and many more. The link to sign up can be found in today's show notes or if you go to blockworks.co. Subscribe to the Lightspeed newsletter today. Hello and welcome back to another episode of Lightspeed. I'm your host, Jack Kubanek, joined today by a fellow Jack, Jack Liu, the CEO and co-founder of Magic Eden. Jack, thanks for coming on the show.
Awesome. Yeah, GM. Glad to be here.
Absolutely.
Fellow Jack. It's awesome.
I know. We've never gotten to meet before this, but the last Magic Eden associated thing I think I was present at was the DGen yacht cruise during NFT NYC. I don't know if you were there for that, but that was one of the more memorable crypto parties I've ever been to, actually.
Yeah. I don't know if I was at that one, but I'm glad you had fun. I was at the first one in 22. It was pretty loose, and I'm pretty glad that I heard the one in 24. We toned it down, like grew up a lot, but I hope you had fun, man, and I hope you have good things to say.
That's the life of an NFT founder, right there. You're like, I which yacht cruise? I can't remember. There's too many. but no, it was a good time. I'm curious to ask you initially before I forget, but just something I've been thinking as I'm prepping for this episode. What does Magic Eden mean?
I'll tell you the history of the name, like how it came about, but we picked the name because when we first started, NFT was so new. It was like a frontier thing. And I mean, to the majority of the world today, is still very, very new and very frontier. And we thought, hey, this could be like a new frontier of both the internet, of culture on the internet, of new things that we can build. And we like this Garden of Eden connotation, right? And of course, NFT's original use case had so much to do with culture, art, these kind of things. So we wanted to have something expansive and aspirational there. And how the story came about was actually pretty hilarious. So originally we were going to call our company Petabay, and my two technical co-founders actually were like really hot on that name. Head up, because it's like a very big number. It's like 10 to the power 15 or something, and Bay like eBay, we're a marketplace. And then when they first pitched it, I had some dissonance. Because first it was like, okay, Google is already really big. Like Google is also a massive number. Why are we doing like a smaller number than Google? And then Petabay, it doesn't roll off the tongue very well, right? And I remember floating it by actually like the Phantom co-founders, and they were like, dude, this name's like dead on arrival. You have to change the name. And then we went back to the drawing board. We actually got like a startup name generator, and it came up with Magic Den. And then we looked at it and said, hey, Magic Den, Magic Eden, actually, Garden of Eden connotations. That's how we landed on this.
I don't know anything about startups, but I think you did a good job by not going with Petabay. I think that would maybe you wouldn't be in the position you're in the market had you chosen that one.
Yeah, we dodged a fair few bullets in our lifetime, and that's definitely a huge one. I'm glad we did not go with that.
There's quite a few things I want to dive into. I think you're, at least since I've been hosting, the first kind of NFT founder that we've had on, and there's a lot to kind of check in on that I think listeners will be interested in, just about the NFT world. And listeners who are checking this show out as it comes out, I'm sure will be interested in the fact that Magic Eden has the ME token coming out at some point soon. I think the eligibility checker has been announced. How's that going for you? I don't know your involvement with the logistics of the token or whatever, but when I speak to founders who launch tokens, they say their life becomes a little hellish after they do that. So has it been just like a terrible grind since you announced this token a few months back, or are you making it through okay? How's it been?
Yeah, happy to talk about it. So, well, number one, like ME Foundation is a separate entity to us. They're launching and administering the token. Magic Eden, we're adopting the token into our platform. Uh, but yeah, overall, yeah, like very, very excited, actually, very calm and very zen. And in some sense, we definitely feel like for the vast majority of things, you can never hope for perfection. For the vast majority of things, we put our best foot forward. So all of this is, we're glad with all of the inputs that we put in. And overall, I think, yeah, we're very excited. To some of your early points, NFTs, of course, NFTs as a category in 24 was really soft, right? It was pretty bearish. But actually for Magic Eden, I think we actually did really well within that industry. 2024 is actually our best year ever. It's like better than our 2022 like bull market year. The most users, the most revenue. We had a profitable year. I think our best month we traded like $800 million in NFTs. So our thinking process is, man, if this is like as bearish as it gets and we're still doing okay, then we're really bullish and optimistic for the future. But what actually we're excited about adopting the ME token is really to catalyze our next chapter. So like little known fact, like fungible token trading is actually around 20% of our business today. And we are actually want to pursue this. For us, the next stage of Magic Eden is to pursue this all chains, all assets strategy. So we will allow other types of crypto assets to be traded on ME and really make a much bigger plan, a much greater emphasis on that. And for us to adopt the ME token is really to catalyze, of course, to incentivize, but also shine a light on for the community on some of our new ambitions as we go into the next chapter of Magic Eden. So overall, we're very excited about everything. But yeah, it hasn't been quiet. That's for sure. It's been a bit of a grind.
How do you launch a token without pissing everyone off, in your opinion? Because it feels like it's been, 2023 into 2024, tons of airdrops have happened. And I would say a large majority, the community or the recipients of this airdrop aren't happy afterwards. They will complain that their allocation wasn't big enough or whatever. There's like, I think you can count on one hand the ones that people are really happy about. I think Hyperliquid was a recent one that left a lot of people pretty excited. But I don't know, like, is there any secret sauce in your view of how to not end up with your community super upset when it's all said and done?
A few things. I think number one, token launches or like adopting a token to us it's just the beginning, right? This is like day one. And in some sense, I think there is a overemphasis on what happens on day one. There has to be a goal for why we're doing this that needs to catalyze over the long term. It's like not just years, man, like cycles. That's the kind of thing that's the time frame that I'm thinking about. I think those tokens that ultimately are really successful and are really timeless, they get way bigger than what people think they can be. But you have to keep putting in a lot of work, and it's not a multi-year thing; it's multi-cycle, and that's the horizon that we think about. And in that grand context, we have to put our best foot forward and do the best we can on claim day or as of day one, so things get off on the best foot that we can. But you have to have a lot of things afterwards and the right mentality to push through it and think about it over the long term. One small point on this, I was actually just telling the company this, but one thing we've been talking about at Magic Eden since day one of Magic Eden, like 3 years ago when we first started the company, is nothing is ever as good as it seems and nothing is ever as bad as it seems. And the whole point is to say, keep a clear head, stay level-headed, think long-term. In a bull market, it will get so euphoric that we feel like we're masters of the universe. And in a bear market, we have like existential crisis, right? It's that's just the comes with the paranoia of the space. But it's actually really important to calibrate ourselves. So I think that's the first thing. And then the second thing is like to your question of like not pissing off the community and stuff. I think that it's important to define what is community and what we stand for, and have the community buy into what we stand for. And our thinking process is this: without a token, it's more like product and users. That's kind of the relationship. Right? We build product, users come use our product. But once a token is there, we adopt a token, some part of the users become community. But what is community? Well, community is like, they hold the token, they have to believe in what you're doing, and we are also believing what we're doing, and now we are emotionally invested together. And of course, with the token, there's all this energy. Right? So the way we think about it is, now that there is all this almost like chaotic, unstructured energy that's out there, and people are saying a bunch of things, some people love it, some people don't love it, but how can we do something to translate that unstructured, chaotic energy into something that's productive for both us and the community? And what that real machine or that system really is we have to tell people what we stand for. And it's okay if some people don't believe what we do or they don't buy into what we do. That's actually totally fine. With all love and all grace and all compassion, it's like, thank you for using us. It's okay. But we don't have to force a square peg in a round hole. But for the people who do believe in us, we are very clear about what we stand for. And if you believe, then our incentives and our goals are aligned. And what we are actually shipping and what we're doing, we are aligned. And then it's a very beautiful and harmonious marriage, right? So then to your point about not pissing off the community, I think on day one, there's a lot of chaos, or even launch, there's a lot of chaos. But what actually is important is to be clear about the vision, about the principles, and then say, it's okay. We don't have to have a forced marriage if we don't have to, right? That's our take on that.
There's just no recipe to make this work. Like the, Sanctum folks did a lot of work to be, what is earnestness? How do we define who's really in our community, who's really not in our community? And I think when you're doing airdrop allocations, it's probably impossible to really tell. And yeah, like you said, it becomes more clear down the line as opposed to at the TGE event. And it's almost, I don't know, in a sense, like you could think of like Dunkin' Donuts rewards or something. It's like Dunkin' Donuts is not going to give you all these rewards to get free stuff if you're not a customer there. But if you're using Dunkin' Donuts, if you're shopping there a lot, you get all these points and then you get free things or whatever. So it's not a perfect analogy, but I think that's like, it's a over time process as opposed to farming for the moment of TGE and being able to tell exactly who your community is.
I'll just add a point out. It's like a yes and, right? Like, there is an aspect of like airdrops that's kind of about money. So I mean, I think actually Hyperliquid is a beautiful product. I also am a user of Hyperliquid. I think it's great. But of course, they drop 30% supply to less than 100,000 user wallets or something like that. And of course, then like economically, it's huge, right? It's just the way it is. The math kind of works out that way. Magic Eden, I think we'll have almost 1 million, like 700,000 plus kind of users that will be part of the token claim, and supply will be lower. So there is always this difference in economics. But to the point of like what you mentioned and something that I said earlier, over focusing on the math at day one, sometimes it hides the point. The point is really about where we're going in the future and what does Magic Eden stand for? What is our vision? What is our strategy? And how we would like the community to participate. I think that is the clarity that we should provide to turn some of the more like unstructured energy into something that's very productive and everyone is aligned. I think talk about endless math or endless like zero-sum trade-offs as of allocation day is not constructive, right? It's actually more about the future.
Chaos Labs, the leading on-chain risk management firm, recently launched its new flagship Oracle product, Edge, which delivers integrated, high-precision risk and price data for any on-chain application with a market. Edge emerged from stealth after 2 months, securing Jupiter, the top swap platform on Solana, already securing $30 billion in volume and more than 60% of all Solana perps volume. Edge is comprised of 3 components: price, risk, and proofs. It delivers high-precision price data with an integrated risk engine powered by Chaos's advanced outlier and anomaly detection algorithm, It automates delivery of real-time parameter adjustments on-chain based on current market conditions, and it enables the secure on-chain delivery of custom data points, including reserve attestations delivered via ZKPs. Most recently, Wintermute announced its selection of the Edge Proofs Oracle for Outcome Market, its new smart contract-based election prediction market tool. Thank you to Chaos Labs for making this episode possible. Celebrating 10 years of innovation, Ledger remains the most secure hardware wallet for your Solana and logins, trusted by 7 million users and securing 20% of the world's digital assets. In recent years, Ledger has built a robust ecosystem of products and services, making digital ownership more secure and accessible to everyone. Ledger's newest devices, Ledger Stacks and Ledger Flex, feature the world's first secure touchscreens, making it easier and safer to manage your Solana transactions and coins. With Ledger Live, you can seamlessly and securely manage and stake your SOL. Alongside Ledger Stacks and Ledger Flex, Ledger introduced the Ledger Security Key app, a safer alternative to traditional passwords, enhancing your overall digital security. During the holiday season, upgrade to Ledger Flex and get $70 in Bitcoin. Hurry, because this offer is only valid until December 23rd while supplies last. The final point I just want to get into on airdrops, if you look at the NFT volume chart globally for the past few years, it's NFTs are trading much less than they were in 2021, 2022, except for this one blip at the beginning of 2023, which had a lot to do with Blur's airdrop. And there was a ton of, renewed NFT volume that, maybe it was wash trading or something, but like it's real money trading hands. It wasn't fake, but I think a lot of it came to be seen as this artificially propped up trading that happened because of the coming airdrop. I don't know. Do you think is there a playbook to not just create all this artificial trading because people are farming your airdrop and then that mercenary capital moves on to the next one? Or I don't know, is there a different way for things to go?
Like for Magic Eden, volume is not our North Star metric. Our North Star is users and revenue. And I think that especially because, if you have like a platform, especially like something like Blur where it's zero fees and then you provide token incentives, volume, of course, it's like, why are we surprised that there's a lot of volume? Of course, there's going to be a lot of volume, right? But long term, it's not really a sustainable way to build a good product. And it's not really clear if you're actually building for the right thing or not. So that's why we go on actual getting new users, actually getting revenue so that we know that there is value that we're providing to our users for them to use the platform. So in that sense, over the last year, we had like 1.5 million users. We're number one in our field. And we also have like 60-70% of the share revenue within the NFT industry, right? So that's how we measure our success. And once we have those North Star goals of success, that defines the compass of then how we answer some of your questions around like wash trading, suspicious behavior, egregious farming, meaningless usage, right? So then to us, it's like there is legitimate liquidity provisioning. That is fine, and that is part of the kind of platform that we have. There has to be liquidity. We also have products for that. There is API products, AMM products that we provide for those types of users. But if it's users who are just trading one NFT back and forth, like AB, those kind of things, that is considered unhealthy behavior in our books. And for us, we do not reward that kind of behavior, right? We have a bunch of systems. It also came out as part of the Magic Eden Foundation's like allocation checker, like all of those things were really borne out, and we lived those things, right? We told the community about them, we communicated that, and we actually put that into practice. So to your point, I think we have to define the North Star goals and compass of where we are, and then use that to then define how we should think about these kind of cases. And in our case, we communicated what we stand for, and then we have to build a bunch of systems and software to enforce that, help with that.
Yeah, that was an interesting thing I noted while I was prepping this episode. But Magic Eden, I think, from NFT Pulse, has seen something like 60% of the NFT market's trading revenue in the past year. But I think OpenSea is number one for volume, or it's a different platform. So you're optimizing for different things there, which I think, we talk a lot about not using the active addresses metric for crypto trading platforms on this Lightspeed universe, I guess. Dan Smith, the former host of the show, is a big evangelist of this. But yeah, like revenue is real money that flows into a company's treasury as opposed to volume, very gameable metric where you can make things look very inflated. Just look on like trending tokens on Dex Screener. Not a lot of those are
Yeah.
creating a lot of revenue, but they may have a lot of volume.
Just real quick, like to that point, you mentioned this point about active users and active addresses. I think that's really right? Because in Web3, there is no concept of identity. Everyone's an address. And because we're a cross-chain platform, so we're on we're going to be on like 10 plus chains by end of the year. And one of the things I realized in the last bull market was, we did a bunch of partnerships with like Shaquille O'Neal or like Tomorrowland, right? These big like normie, icons. And we did partnerships, we did launches with them, but we acquired no users. Of course, like surprise, right? These users, they'll have to go on Coinbase, then download like Phantom or MetaMask. And by the time they come to Magic Eden, we only get a small trickle. So we could not acquire users. That's actually why we also built our own wallet. And right now, like our mobile wallet launched, I think 4 months ago. There's still some kinks with it. Definitely we have to get those things fixed. But we have like 100,000 monthly transacting users. And at that, when you have a mobile app, then you really know at more like device level or, more like account level, right? Rather than at address level, how many real users you have. And those are the metrics and proxies that we really understand. Okay, are we actually getting real people? Are we acquiring real people? Do we have enough of a good product to appeal to those people?
I'm glad you brought this up, Jack, because I did want to get into this a little bit. Is celebrities are still in crypto. We saw the Hawk Tua coin go live yesterday, but it seems like in the NFT world, there's maybe a little less celebrity involvement, and then definitely a lot less corporate NFT involvement, or the decline of corporate NFT initiatives have been really interesting. I think Starbucks, Twitter, GameStop. I believe Nike recently sunset this sort of NFT initiative. And it seems like that was a big thing in the prior market cycle when NFT volumes, as we mentioned, were much higher. And that's just not really a thing as much today. A lot of the NFT companies aren't chasing those types of partnerships. So why do you think that is? And will we see another wave of corporate NFT initiatives, or is that kind of a dead part of the crypto story?
So what we see now is definitely we see those trends, but some folks kind of leaving the NFT space. There is also some folks who are really interested in exploring, and we are in some of those conversations as well. So some other like Web2 companies or institutions or more like VC-backed companies and builders that's still interested in building out NFTs. So I would say it's a mixed bag. But in terms of like companies, like, some of the folks that you mentioned, like they leaving or winding down some of the NFT initiatives, in that sense, I'm not surprised, right? 2024 was a really bearish market for NFTs, 23 as well. 23 was like extremely bearish for crypto overall. So it's probably just a function of like, general market sentiment with this space. In my view, in crypto, it's very hard to predict what is actually going to happen. No one, no one really predicted like, oh, AI agents is going to be this hot thing, right? And a couple of months ago, it was like meme coins, alts are completely dead, but now like there's all these like centralized exchanges, alts having its moment in the sun. I think our primary objective is really two things. One is we want to build, instead of trying to bet on metas, like what is the meta today? Is it going to be corporate NFTs? Is yesterday's meta like AI agents? Our strategy is to build a better net. It's like, okay, we are meta agnostic. And our strategy then is all chains, all assets. So regardless of something popping off, we actually provide some technology, great products, great user experiences to ensure that we can serve some of those periods of hotness when something does pop up. So that is actually our mentality. And then the second thing I would say is that I consider NFTs more like a fundamental technology rather than a use case. So there was a period where even today, like PFPs, very speculative aspects of NFTs that had this very very like soft period. I mean, there's still enough activity. I was mentioning that in 2024 we had a really great year. So even on speculative NFT activity, it was very profitable for us. But it had this period of like suppression, if you say. But at the same time, NFTs is just the underlying technology. So if some creators or some builders, whether they're corporate, VC backed, or crypto native, or like small teams, if they want to use the technology to build cool things, then we're still fundamentally bullish that this technology will enable some new use cases. So like to give a couple of examples of that, like uh, we're like working with Off the Grid. So I think that's going to be probably one of the breakout games of this cycle. Number one in the Epic Game Store. Most people don't understand is crypto under the hood. It's built on Avalanche. That's going to have like millions of NFTs being distributed. And of course, they'll also probably have fungible tokens. So to me, it's like, wow, that's a really strong team with venture funding. They have a vision of how to use this technology beyond speculative use cases. And I think that's going to have a lot of activity. We're also working with some of these like AI agent companies who want to have like NFT creation. They're like, oh, like, now we have like AI agent personalities, and maybe the ownership of those agents can be used, encapsulated by tokenized through NFTs. So the point I'm trying to make is that, the underlying NFT is just a technology, right? Like the underlying technology still has a lot of value to represent like single item ownership. And we think that a lot of use cases are still going to be built on that, regardless of whatever is the meta of the day.
Wait, can you expand on the AI agent part of that? Because I've obviously heard a lot of talk about AI agents and associated meme coins, but this is the first NFT AI agent collab I've heard. What's the idea there?
It has a lot of exploration. I don't think we've seen examples out in the market, but like fundamentally, what's been really interesting about the AI stuff, is it the meme coin or is it the agent itself? I feel like actually a lot of the buzz is the agent, right? The agent is very funny. It's very like interactive. It gains a lot of attention. But the agent is a single entity. The agent is not like a fungible like collection or something like that, right? So you can imagine if we expand outside of the crypto space, and you just look at just actual AI, then there were a lot of products built like this, right? Character AI. It was a huge app in a couple of years ago. And the whole thing was about like effectively you talking to an agent. The agent has lore and it's very, very engaging, and people prefer to talk to character AI rather than talk to like a real human being. But those things are single entity concepts. And those single entities like ownership, borrow, lending, usage, those kind of things should be encapsulated by NFT technology, right? It's better represented by NFT technology. And it's cool. Like it's cool because now the AI agent tech, the agent itself can own a wallet, right? And they can control a wallet. So if the agent is really fun and really funny, you can tip the agent. The agent then can give you like more, whatever, they can do like funny things that they wouldn't normally otherwise do. I think all of that, and we already see that kind of behavior in the Web2 world, whether it's in like Twitch streamer tipping, or AI idols, right, on TikTok and so on. So I think there is a lot of melding of those behaviors, and that behavior can be encapsulated by NFT technology.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see if that bears any fruit, because I think the AI agent stuff is going to get big and silly, and I'm just curious what direction it all goes in. So, that's an interesting new use case I hadn't heard. I want to get into your revenue a little bit. You mentioned 20% is non-fungible tokens, so I'm assuming 80% would be fungible. Wait,
inverse.
excuse me,
That's
the
the
opposite.
inverse. Yeah.
20% is fungible, 80% is NFTs. When you look at where a lot of that revenue is coming from, I'm curious if it's the blue chip projects like CryptoPunks, Pudgy Penguins, Milady, whatever, or is it mostly like smaller niche things like I'm trading NFTs for this game I play and it's a small community, but there's just a lot of volume or something?
For us, most of our, like right now in terms of users, like on the NFT side, in terms of users for Magic Eden, we're probably even split between Sol, BTC, EVM, like EVM as a holistic ecosystem with more users on L2s, right? And I think that's expected since you would expect like fast chains to get more users rather than like the L1, which is more slow and expensive. But in terms of revenue, I think most of our split is in like Sol and BTC. And primarily it's related to a previous question where, you said where in EVM, there might be a lot of volume, but there's very little revenue because a lot of the volume it's at zero fees. It's incentivized by tokens. So there's like very little there, right? The market's basically a red ocean. And then so for in terms of what types of collections, it's actually a mixed bag. I think for Sol is a very grassroots and crypto native ecosystem, which is amazing, and it's full of innovation. And in that ecosystem, I think a lot of the usage and traction is around like new collections, new launches, and people are finding new ways, right? I was pretty late to this. I was fading it pretty hard, but yeah, like Retardio is like really huge on Sol, right? And it represents like a certain culture and this kind of thing. On BTC, it's different. BTC, like all the ticket sizes are much, much larger. Of course, in general, probably because of the wealth of the existing users. And everything is a lot more expensive. You have to pay like $10 for, in gas to get something through. So for that, there is a lot of so-called like blue chip collections being traded, more like prestige artifacts being traded. What's actually kind of hilarious on BTC is we also do rare Satoshis, which is there's like, it's basically like rare pennies, but now in digital form. And those Satoshis have stories behind them. So those are like small tickets, but it's actually just really interesting to see that like collector behavior on BTC as well. So there's a decent amount of traction there as well.
Yeah. There was like a really expensive rare Satoshi that I did a story on a while back, but that was an interesting trend to me because I didn't know what to make of kind of the Bitcoin NFT renaissance and ordinals and all this stuff. But the rare Satoshis thing is kind of interesting. I don't know.
Yeah, it's collectors collect, right? It's like buying a watch. The watch has all these mechanisms, and to the average person outside of like the watch community, you're like, yo, that seems super esoteric and super niche. But people who are in the community, they really value those kind of things. They value the lore, they value the background. So it is absolutely fascinating.
So I'm curious. I was speaking with someone yesterday about sort of the state of meme coins, as I so often am as a Solana journalist. And he was basically saying like every speculative cycle with crypto, there's some kind of game that people just get really hooked on. And right now that game seems to kind of be pump fun. Like these very cheaply launched tokens where there's kind of this incentive to find a token early before everyone else finds it and sell at the right time. And these things are really ephemeral and often last like 24 hours. And, say what you will about it, but pump fun is an innovation. Like it's a next step on what meme coins were before it. I'm curious what you think innovation in the NFT world as like a speculative use case that has a sort of game that users want to play. Like, what could that look like? I know that Tensor, I believe, is launching Vector Fun, which struck me as sort of pump fun inspired. So do you think NFTs move in that direction, or is there a different axis where the NFT market can innovate and come up with sort of a new speculative game that users play?
Yeah. So Magic Eden, our mission is to make digital ownership universal. So our really core goal is to onboard like millions, hundreds of billions users on chain. And that's why we built a bunch of the things that we did, right? Like on our core marketplace, we kept the experience very simple. We then built a wallet so we can be vertically integrated. So net new users, they don't have to like go through a bunch of hoops, download 5 different wallets across 5 different chains to use Magic Eden. So that is our core focus. And I think our core focus in that sense around NFTs or fungible tokens around the asset class is really about how do we make the experience easy and how do we make it resonate with the everyday person. So we are also, like, to give an example of, we are also supporting meme coins that's happening on a mobile app. But the meme coins that we support is not like French Warrior meme coins, right? That doesn't appeal exactly to our audience, and it's fine. Like we want to like chill guy is probably more our thing, which is memes that actually have some mainstream appeal, and it helps casual users get in touch, and it's more relatable to casual users. So that's really the way that we think about it, and that's our core focus. Then to the point of like, is there a new speculative use case for NFTs? Our perspective is more around this like all chains, all assets thing, which is we provide this commerce and platform layer. If creators want to create new use cases that's really interesting, we are happy to support them. So we have this partnership with a company on Sol called Curved, which is like bonding curves for NFTs. If creators want to create those kind of use cases, we're happy to support, right, and enable those. But we try not to bet on like some specific speculative meta, because to us those things are really great, but it appeals to some very native on-chain audience, which we already have a lot of those users today. Well, but where we put a lot of our focus is how do we onboard more users from Web2 to Web3, or from centralized exchanges to on-chain. And there's a bunch of effort that we put into that around simplicity, around like utility and stuff like that to get there.
Yeah. So I'm curious there, because I think a lot of people might argue that things like Pump Fund do have broader appeal or mass appeal beyond just like super crypto native existing users that are already here. And stuff like Moonshot is this, am I thinking of the right one? The one where you can use your phone and onboard crypto with like your Apple Wallet and then buy meme coins. And people, a lot
That's
of
a great
people think
point.
that's the way to get a broader user base into crypto. It seems like you feel differently. So I'm just curious, like, what to you is the secret sauce to expanding the number of users beyond people who have been in crypto for years at this point?
Yeah, actually, to be precise, there's actually a lot of similarity there. So like, I actually think Moonshot is a great product. I actually love their product. And I think like philosophically, we are actually very aligned, right? So for them, the user experience is very simple, but it's not a trench warrior product, right? It's not what is like pre-graduated, not yet graduated from Palm, like what's about to graduate. It's the experience is not oriented towards that. It's verified. It's verified tokens. There is like some sense of like, okay, these things have been around. That type of content would resonate with mainstream audience. Like we are actually philosophically very aligned, and I think I just wanted to make that clear. So for us, our philosophy is this: one is simplicity. The two is range, and the number three is convenience. Simplicity is really, hey, like when I would say that most of the on-chain Web3 world, it's moving towards more complexity and more fragmentation, like more chains, more dApps that basically do the same thing. Then you have to download another wallet to use the dApp that basically do the same thing. For like the everyday user, that's not a reasonable expectation. What they would want is like a trusted brand where, hey, I'm coming here for the first time. I can do everything in one place, and I know I'm not going to get robbed. That's actually the focus. So we also keep our product simple, and we keep our product like vertically integrated, right? So we have a wallet, we have a marketplace with all of this. The second element for us, it's range. Range, it means this is something that we learned from the NFT, like from our experience in doing NFTs, and we're basically expanding that into fungible tokens. We don't want to bet on a ecosystem or a creator, because sometimes trying to chase these metas is too hard. It really is just too hard, and it's like it's like throwing at a dartboard. What we would rather position ourselves is to say, hey, if you're interested in something, Magic Eden is going to have it. And today it could be something on Sol, like Sol meme coins. Tomorrow it could be base AI agent coins, like initial agent offerings, whatever. And the day after it could be ape chain NFTs or abstract NFTs or something like that. That is the value proposition that we want to provide our users, to say, hey, you can come here and get convenience. And I think over the long term, that is I deeply believe that is the way to acquire more users. In Web2, you see it from Amazon, and in NFTs, if we didn't do that, then we would not be here today, right? We had to expand cross-chain to actually acquire more users. And then the last thing is, just offer people convenience. So one-stop shop, you can onboard fiat directly onto Magic Eden. You don't have to go through centralized exchanges, download a bunch of wallets. Yeah, that's kind of our philosophy.
Yeah. I think that thesis is a compelling one, that people will pay for convenience more than a lot of people who are deeply in the crypto world realize. And I think that the continued popularity of Coinbase kind of proves that. Coinbase rakes in so many fees from what they charge to on ramp, and there's really not very difficult, cheaper ways to on ramp fiat to crypto. There's cheaper places to swap, but I don't know. Coinbase continues to be able to charge really high fees, and people keep paying them because Coinbase is really simple to use. You can trust that you're not going to get drained if you're just holding your money on Coinbase and this sort of thing. It's similar to like the bet that Dropbox kind of made, which I don't know if today Dropbox is a super good business, but it was like, look, file sharing that's super simple is like actually a product that people will use, even if it's not super technically complex or anything like this.
Yeah. And it's somewhat of a, yeah, so like super plus one to that. Um, you can also kind of see it in the NFT space as well, right? Like you have very, very pro trader tools. And then you have like very more normie friendly brands, but both have their place. Neither one of them through like very brutal bear markets actually, died or anything like that. They actually still have their core user base who are very loyal and like believe in the value proposition. One of the really, to your point about Coinbase, like one of the things that we look at really internally, I think it really validated our thesis is basically it's like the volume of Bitcoin that gets traded in bull markets, bear markets between centralized exchanges. And in bull markets like Coinbase and more of these retail-friendly platforms, they take the lion's share. It really takes the lion's share. Of course, that validates like simple experience, trusted brand. It doesn't matter what the fees are, but you offer convenience. In bull markets, that's where the lion's share of new users come from. But in bear markets, pro platforms, they take more, and that's just kind of expected, right? Because more of the casual users leave. It's mostly advanced true believers, and then they like to, they have more advanced needs. But for us, like Magic Eden, yeah, we're well capitalized. We have this thesis of getting more users. That's really our like DNA as well. We're like more like a consumer product DNA. Then really we want to ride something through the bull and bear, and we have conviction over the long term that this is the right thing for us.
Mm-hmm. What's your take then on mobile? Because it seems like in the Solana world, there's a lot of interest in mobile right now. Obviously, Solana Labs is putting out the phone. The Seeker is going to be releasing next year. And just in general, I think, especially in Solana, a lot of teams right now are building mobile apps, just released mobile apps, about to release mobile apps. So, in this talk of convenience and growing the pie, like where do you think mobile fits into all that?
It has to be front and center. So a couple of things. I think, you know, the crypto industry, we've been talking about onboarding hundreds of millions of users or billion users, into crypto it's like for the last decade. Actually, that's been our narrative and been our dream for a long time. But why hasn't it been available? Well, one, there were a lack of use cases, like fun things to do. But the other is the technology was not feasible to build some of the experiences that we wanted. But actually, this cycle, I would actually say all of the stars are aligned because you have really fast chains. Like Sol is a perfect example, right? Where you can worry less about the chain or gas optimization and worry more about just building the core consumer experience. Number two, you have embedded wallets. So like smooth onboarding is much easier. Number three, we have like really robust fiat on ramps so people can bypass centralized exchanges, come on chain directly. So I'm actually not surprised that there is this Cambrian explosion, and I think it's absolutely the right thing to do. And we love all of these new products that's being built. I think we're very inspired by them. And number two, like to your point of like what's the place, I would actually say crypto, we as an industry, we should chase so hard at mobile because mobile is not just the future. Mobile is like the past. Like in the rest of the world, like the world is already on mobile. It's only crypto is not on mobile, right? So we have to make up for lost time. I think the future of crypto, yeah, there could be other things like Telegram, like all these other platforms that's really interesting. But this mobile thing, we have to unlock this. There is no PMF risk or anything like that. We just have to go build beautiful products and make it work. So overall, it's front and center, and I'm actually very, very excited by everything that's happening right now.
What are your thoughts on the Seeker? Because I think one of the barriers to like crypto apps, which are often inherently financialized, going on something like the App Store is that Apple famously is going to take a 30% cut. And so some of the appeal, I guess, of the Solana phones are they're not going to take a 30% cut. And that's a huge margin in your business. So I don't know. Do you think that that's going to be enough to kind of make the seeker a thing? Or do you think it'll be on the existing legacy app stores?
Um, yeah, we build apps, for Saga, and I haven't looked at Seeker, so I need to look into it. So, but I definitely understand the thesis and the value prop, and we've worked pretty closely with the Saga team before. Um, so here's my I think one, I'm very excited, and two, I think it's a very bold bet. I think last time I heard Tolly talk about this is he wants to use this as a beachhead, right? To show the app stores that, hey, these crypto native apps that have they need to have an avenue, and then once you have that beachhead, because of game theory and a bunch of stuff, like the app stores will have to loosen the restrictions. I think that's really bold, and I'm in full support of that. I'm absolutely in full support of that. The additional color I'll put on that is, I think, just pragmatically, I think it's going to be a mix. Right? It's a mix because, yeah, as a founder and consumer product developer, you basically go where the users are. It's inevitable. It's just the economic gravity kind of thing. We will build for Saga, we'll build for Seeker, and then we will have to build for App Store to tap into that audience. And my hope is that I would actually maybe draw the analogy of maybe something like crypto regulation in the US. Like you push out hard enough, eventually something amazing will happen. And when that amazing thing happens, things can change really quickly. And we've already done the hard work. We've already eaten the glass, as Tolly would say, to put ourselves in the best position. And we can only hope for that, right? And keep pushing for that.
So what is Magic Eden opinionated about? Because it seems like a lot of topics we've discussed, sort of where you end up is like, well, we're going to support all chains, we're going to support all use cases. You can come to Magic Eden and we'll support it. And I think that there's a lot of companies in crypto that are a lot more opinionated in terms of, hey, we're going to build a AI agent platform, or we're going to, make a pump fund equivalent or something like this. So I'm just curious, like, where does the kind of, well, we can support everything and we can do everything for our users end, and where do you have strong opinions in terms of like this and not that in terms of what you're building?
Yeah. It's a good question. I would actually would say that we're pretty opinionated about a bunch of things. Number one is, and actually this is encapsulated in like the magic principles, which I published a couple of weeks ago, and it's really about the how, right? Like what we stand for and how we're going to go execute against that. Number one is we stand for making crypto easier for everyone, and that really is about simplicity, right? And there's a really great saying, which is, it takes longer to write a short letter. So for us, it's actually we want to do more to make our product simple, focus on simple use cases that have wide appeal. And actually, I think that's very contrary and very very opinionated, because most of crypto, and especially most of on-chain crypto, is very like shiny object syndrome. Like there is this shiny object, let's go chase this thing, right? And we actually want to focus on simplicity, craftsmanship, focusing on retail, like use cases that has a lot of widespread appeal, rather than more like esoteric and deep use cases. So that's number one. Number two, around all chains or assets, what that means is, I think Magic Eden, the next version of Magic Eden will look like an on-chain version of Binance, which is we just trade multiple categories of crypto assets. That is our core business. We learn how to trade the NFT category across different chains, and we understand how to build different stacks, enter different ecosystems, like respect the culture of different ecosystems. And now we want to expand into a new asset class, which is fungible tokens. And, we've already been doing that. But to us, that also means that we are not going to do, I don't know, like tokenized, tokenized houses or something like that, because our core business is assets that live on, like originate from crypto, and is and is tradable on crypto rails, right? We are this like crypto native company that relies on the pure crypto technology. The third thing is really this point about like long term over short term. I think some of the best decisions we made at Magic Eden were really long term, and some of the worst decisions we made was short term. It's like chasing shiny object syndrome. Like, should we be surprised that we don't have 100 million users on chain when most of the time it's basically another clone of the same dApp, but just on a different chain, right? We shouldn't be surprised that the space is not bigger. In order to onboard more people into the space, you have to put a lot of work and craftsmanship over the long term to build something good.
Do you think that 80-20 split of NFTs versus fungible tokens is going to shift then with sort of that vision you laid out for the long term? Like, what is a realistic breakdown, you think, for a few years from now for what percent of your revenue comes from just crypto tokens versus NFTs?
Yeah, it's a good question. So for 2025, we've got 3 goals, right? As a company. Number 1 is remain number 1 in NFTs. That's by users and revenue. And number 2, we want over half of our business to be from fungible tokens. Right? So today we're 20, so we need to like 2.5 x that at least. And we're very optimistic that we'll be able to. And then our third priority is what we call build our own first party growth loop. And what that really means is now Magic Eden, we have all of the building blocks to go acquire our own users to come on chain for the first time. We don't require them to go to Coinbase. We don't require them to go download MetaMask or Phantom. They can just come to Magic Eden directly. So this means we want to do like SEO, app store optimization, virality loops, of course, like token incentives. We're also like pretty interested in Telegram. Basically, most dApps, I think they have to get into like volume wars or like copy something because they cannot grow. Everyone is just, Magic Eden, we were there. We deeply feel this. Everyone was just praying for a bull market to come. So new users will come and like trickle to the dApp. But now that we have the building blocks where we can reach outside of like the existing on-chain audience, we basically want to build our own funnel so that we can reach those users. So yeah, so those 3 things. And I think to answer your questions, at least half by the end of 2025.
Thank you so much for coming on to join. It's been a lot of fun getting to kind of just get this, update from the field of someone who's still going really hard in the NFT world. It's something that I feel like I don't get to look at as much as I would like to. So thanks for just a really enlightening conversation.
Awesome. Yeah. Thanks for having me, Jack. Appreciate it.